Greetings everyone and welcome back to another Starship Review. Today we're going to take a look at the Risian Luxury Cruiser, which is the grand prize for the summer event 2021. And it's a fun little ship. The base turn rate of 10 makes it nice and peppy, which is in line with the Risian theme of ships, and it does make it quite a bit of fun to fly. I also like the model, and I like the size of it. It's not something I often bring up, but sometimes if a ship is too big or too small, that it's not really that much fun to fly, because you either have to zoom way in and then you can't see anything, or you have to zoom way out and then it's a little bit awkward. So those are the things I like about the ship. Unfortunately, the praise is about to run out, but I thought it was important up front to just say that I do like this ship. I had fun flying it, and I might pull it out and fly it again once in a while. It is just a fun little cruiser, and for a free ship, sometimes that's all you need. But let's go ahead and get down to the nuts and bolts of this thing. In terms of the chassis, it has a 4-4 weapon layout, which is what you would expect from a cruiser, but it's not really ideal. You can't use dual cannons anyway, so a 4-4 is not a huge loss. Also, it doesn't have a command seat, so we're not at a loss for fitting all of the kinetic stuff on there that we would want anyway. Pretty much you're just going to be using this as a beamboat, and in which case a 4-4 is actually fine and not that big of an impediment. The console layout only has 3 tactical slots, which is, again, what you would expect from a cruiser. It's not great, but it's fine, and these things don't matter as much as I think people think they do. And then when we come to the bridge officer layout, I think it's quite flexible, and I like it. The Lieutenant Commander Tactical Fixed, but it also has a Lieutenant Commander Universal Temporal, and that just lets you do whatever you want. You don't have to. Some other ships out there, they put that specialization seat on the fixed tactical seat, and then you feel like you have to choose between tactical abilities and your specialization abilities. You don't have to do that here. Even if you make that Lieutenant Commander Universal a second tactical, which is what I did, there's still plenty of room to get all the basics in there. It doesn't feel crowded. And you have the option of making it a science seat instead. If you want to get a grav well in there, or maybe for whatever reason you want to use photonic officer instead of aux to bat, you can do that as well. So the bridge officer layout is a highlight here in my opinion. Let's talk about the trait Leisurely Pace. When you're at low throttle, every 5 seconds you get a stack of a buff. It can go up to 4 stacks. Each stack gives you 15 EPG and 15 control expertise, so you can have up to 60 EPG and 60 control X after 20 seconds. That's going to be a little bit hard to do in practice. Normally you're not sitting in one place for that long, even at low throttle, but I could see getting full stacks here or there. Unfortunately, in my opinion, the strength of these buffs just isn't really enough to justify a starship trait. I think if this were a personal space trait, it would be excellent, but since you can only have 6 starship traits, it is a little bit on the weak side in my opinion. However, if you have a science character who doesn't have all of the stuff, or maybe you just have an alt who doesn't have all of the stuff, then this is still a perfectly good trait. I think this would be right at home on a budget science build. Let's talk about the console, the enhanced Soliton wave generator, which thankfully has kept the 60-second cooldown. So I was expecting that it would have a 2-minute cooldown like most Tier 6 consoles do, but at least, unless it's a bug, and I just have been playing with it a little bit too early, it does still have a 60-second cooldown, which means that you can use it pretty often, and I really like that aspect of it. It creates a giant Soliton wave, which is very nice to look at. It draws enemies in, doing slight radiation damage, and then when it expires, it pushes them away, doing even more radiation damage, as well as some maneuverability debuffs. I think with the 60-second cooldown, this is a perfectly good console for a science build. Again, both of the trait and the console are more science-focused, even though this is a cruiser. But I think if you were doing a budget science build, like I said before, having this and the trait would both be good. So the total accessory package here is pretty decent for a science build. Alright, now let's talk about the ratings, and it couldn't happen to a nicer guy, I'm sorry to say, but the rating system is what it is, and we have to be objective about this, and unfortunately, in terms of performance, I'm only giving it 1 star. It does not have a full specialization seat. It does not have command seating. It does not have miracle worker seating. It can't use dual cannons. That means there's no kinetic build that you can run, which would be the best. It can't really do a science build. It doesn't have a secondary deflector. Really, all you can do with it is energy weapons, and in the hierarchy of energy weapons, cannons come before beams. So I think that ultimately, because it's only really capable of doing, in some respects, relatively the worst kind of build, that has to bring it down. And you can use it as a tank, and it would make an okay tank. It does have a track fire, but there are a lot of other ships that would make a better tank. So, some ships have to be a 1. Every ship can't be a 4 or 5. And we've seen some really great event ships in the past. This just isn't one of them in terms of the ship itself. And again, that's not an indictment over how much fun you can have with it. It's just an indictment over the performance aspect of it, what the upper limit is on what you can do with it. But you can do great damage with it. You can do great damage with any ship. In terms of the accessories package, I think we have a nice little science bundle here. The Triton console would both be right at home on a budget science build. So I think I'm actually going to give it a 4 for that. I think this stuff is pretty strong. It's not really, maybe a low 4, a high 3, but I'm going to go ahead and give it the benefit of the doubt and give it a 4 here. So decent stuff, and I think that you should definitely get this ship. Definitely pick it up because you may want the accessory package for a science build at some point in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to like and subscribe if you want to see more of my stuff in the future. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.